The clue is in the name, Remembrance Sunday. That is first and foremost what we're doing, remembering those perhaps whom we have known, but also thousands and thousands and millions of people whom we didn't know and don't know, but who gave their lives, who gave so much of their energies, their commitments, their willingness to work for others, to serve for others, and if necessary to die for others. Those are the people whom we are remembering. I find myself doing quite a lot of remembering in these months. As many of you will know, I'm leading up to retirement, and so I look back on nearly 45 years of active ministry and remember a huge number of different things, including many memories connected with war and with suffering. One of them sticks out particularly. It was a day that had seemed to have nothing to do with the memory or the reality of war. It was a warm, sunny day in late June. I was in one of my village churches in rural southwest Wiltshire, and we had with us a priest from the Sudan, a parish and a diocese for which we had had many links over the years in the Diocese of Salisbury. And Bullen had been in a parish where we in the Tisbury team that I served then had given money for the establishment of a school. And when I heard he was coming to Wiltshire, I said we must have him for our service this coming Sunday morning. And he came and joined in with us at very short notice. And at the end, I said, Bullen, it would be really lovely to hear from you how things are today. You will know that we helped to build the school in Mundry all those years ago. And Bullen told us how he had had to leave Mundry because it had been swept up into the civil war between the north and the south of the country. Then it was one single country. And Bullen had had to flee from there along with many others. The school that we built had been destroyed. But he'd settled somewhere else. And then a few months later, that too had been swept up into the civil war. And one Sunday morning, as he was leading the service, soldiers burst in. They grabbed him, they grabbed a number of his youth leaders and worship leaders and swept them all off to the local police station. There they were questioned and questioned again, and then blindfolded, and then told that they would be shot. And then he felt from behind his blindfold, in the small of his back, the prod of a machine gun pushing him to his feet. And he knew the same thing was happening to all his colleagues. And they were marched out of the station, stumbling along a dusty road, and then made to kneel down. And as he knelt down, he felt in front of him and could tell that he was by the side of an open grave. And then there was silence. And the silence lasted for some time. And then one of the soldiers said to him, "Okay, is there anything last you'd like to say?" And Bullen just simply repeated words of Jesus's, which were quoted by the very first Christian martyr. "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing." There was another long, long silence. So long that Bullen eventually found the courage to pull the blindfold down from his eyes, and he saw that they'd been left on their own. The soldiers, shamed perhaps by those words of Jesus, had left them and gone away. And Bullen and the others got to their feet and went back to the church. This was now hours later, and they found the congregation still there, praying for them. And as they arrived, there was great rejoicing, of course, and they found themselves bursting into the old song, "Onward, Christian Soldiers." And so Bullen finished telling his story to us. And the extraordinary thing is that we had one last thing to do in our service that June morning in an English summer. We'd got the final hymn to sing, and as it happens, it too was "Onward, Christian Soldiers." And that's the memory that comes to my mind whenever I think of people caught up in war and in the suffering that war causes. It reminded me, that story Bullen told us, of the preciousness of peace, of how vital it is and how awful it is when peace is lost. But it reminded me too of just how precarious peace can be, and the part that's played by individuals. Bullen, in his Christian courage, made that happy ending. Both in the world wars that we remember and in all the conflicts we've been involved in the years since, so very many of them, individuals play a particularly important part. And therefore, in our remembrance today, the individuals whom we knew of or whom we perhaps knew personally, they will come quite rightly foremost to our minds. But of course, this service is not just about remembering. We also give thanks in it. Thanks that at the end of those 2 world wars, peace was achieved. Thanks that for both of them, there was a significant ending to cruelty, to oppression. The end of the Second World War to a particular oppressive cruelty, which was brought to an end by the coming of peace. And of course, we give thanks for people whom we have known. We remember people whom we have known in conflict since. But this year, there is an added layer to all those things which we do year after year at this service. And that added layer is brought about by the particular crisis that we face at the moment. Once again, we're in lockdown. We've been through it months before. We are now, not just as a country, but as a whole world community, facing a particularly difficult pandemic, which is also cruel, which is also causing countless deaths, and sufferings beyond deaths too. I'm aware of people who got it in the early stages, who then had to live for months and months and months with the ongoing consequences of it, not fully able to come back properly to work. And so as we enter this lockdown, we in the Church of England, and others too I know, from different faith communities, are calling for prayer. Prayer from everybody. In a very brief moment at 6 o'clock on each evening of this lockdown. Those of you who pray, if you'd like to spend just a few moments in prayer. Prayer for those who are suffering, and prayer too that God in his mercy will give us the strength and the compassion for one another and the hope to carry us through to the other side of this. Because of course, we will surely get there. And prayer is one of the things that we can do, all of us, practicing Christians, members of other denominations, other faiths, those of no faith at all. We can hold in our minds and in our hearts all those who are suffering at this moment as a result of this awful disease. One of the phrases that we use is stay safe. But I think there's another way of saying that, which does involve keeping ourselves safe, of course. But if we turn that round and put the emphasis not on so much on staying safe ourselves, but doing things and saying things that keep others safe, that work for their care and concern, that exercise the compassion that lies in all of our hearts, Christian or non-Christian. The exercise of that care and compassion is one of the things that we can do. And I urge us all to seek actively to keep others safe. That involves obeying the rules. That involves holding on to hope. And it does, of course, involve staying safe ourselves. But if the emphasis is on keeping others safe, I believe we will do that even more effectively. And so this year, as we remember those who have died, as we give thanks for them and for others who seek to bring an end to cruelty and oppression, to war and hatred, and as we do so in the context of this particular crisis, let us aim to do all we can to keep others safe. May God bless you all. Amen.